Ladies and gentlemen, now today the brand new feature Incursions has just gone live in Marvel Contest of Champions, and I wanted to do a little bit of a breakdown video talking about this new mode of gameplay and the rewards for it. So I need to give a massive shout out to Cat Murdoch. Cat has created this incredible infographic today, which basically displays all of the rewards per 30 days and also 5 days as well. So it's going to make it much easier for me to kind of cover this and break it down. So massive love to Cat, and a link to this if you do want to see it for yourself will be in the description of today's video. But to top line, the tier 1 rewards, if you're in that top tier, and we'll talk about the tiers in a second, the rewards for Incursions are 1.5 million gold every single month, and also just over 2 5-star champions. So if you need gold, if you need 5-star champions, this is definitely the mode of gameplay that you want to turn your attention to. And I would say it's a lot less time and a lot less effort, comparatively speaking, when we look at stuff like, collected 100% and also arena. So I think this is just like a mode of gameplay that if you need 5-star champions and if you need gold, you definitely want to make sure you are not sleeping on Incursions, man, because the rewards, they're a bit scattered, and if you're kind of looking at everything individually, it may not seem like a lot, but once you add it all up, you're like, okay, wow, this is like a really big stack of stuff on a monthly basis. So let's have first a bit of a chat about the tiers. So how do the tiers work, and how do you find out where you fit? So basically, when you start the game, there's no special requirement, and you go into tier 7s. That's the default for newer players. Tier 6's own 8 3-star champions. Tier 5 is own 16 3-star champions, so a lot of people are going to get to above that very quickly. Tier 4 is own 8 4-star champions. Tier 3 is own 16 4-star champions, Tier 2 is own 8 5-star champions, and to be in that top tier and get the, up to just over 2 5-star champions per month, and also 1.5 million gold, that's Tier 1, which is own 16 plus 5-star champions. And within each tier, it allows you to access 2 sectors. Now, within these sectors are essentially levels of difficulty, so the more it goes up, the harder it's going to be as you go from room to room. So beginner ones are obviously going to be much easier than some of the end game ones there. However, your goal on a 30-day basis is to clear to zone 10 in sectors 6 and 7 if you're in tier 1. And zones are essentially rooms, so you go into the first room, it's zone 1, you beat the boss, you go into the second room, it's zone 2, and at least from my experience doing the first 5 to 8 zones is really easy. Like, there's all sorts of buffs in Incursions, man. There are so many buffs, like a ridiculous amount of buffs that you get as you're progressing through Incursions that just make some of the earlier stuff so much easier. So it's very easy to get from 5 to 8 zones cleared. However, zones like 9 and 10 a little bit more tricky. It depends on the champions you bring in and also your ability to play, and also it's very random as well, because you could face any character on any node in the game, so sometimes you're going to be a little bit unlucky, and that's just the way it is. But at least from my experience so far, it's not too bad to get to at least zone 8, and if you get the right buffs and RNG, then zone 10 can be quite straightforward as well. But I think if you're going to 100% uncollected every single month, you shouldn't have too much problem getting to zone 8 to 10, and also you have 30 days to do this as well. But just keep in mind, on top of that, there's also the milestone reward system as well, and this refreshes every 5 days. So the amount of artifacts that you can get every single 5 days from doing the milestones, and the milestones are so easy to do. Again, you don't need to make an active push to go as deep as possible. Say if you've already done the zones and you just want the milestone rewards, you can just go in, have a little bit of fun, see how far you can get, and not really worry about the pressure, and you can X out anytime in Incursions and still keep all of the points. And at least in my experience, the milestones, yeah, you can easily smash them out in about 45 minutes if you're being quite hasty, maybe even a little bit less time than that actually. I think me and Legacy, we did a zone a sector 6 run, went to room 12 or 13, and that was about 31,000 points there. So yeah, that was about 10k overkill Almost. But again, I think this is very much worth doing every 5 days, because again, like, incursions are very enjoyable, and all of this stuff does really add up, because you can get this stack of stuff 6 times every single month. So if you add up all the gold times 6, that's 720,000 there. That's a massive stack. And if you add up all the artifacts as well, and these are actually only present in the first 3 milestones, so that even easier to get, because you don't need all of the points required. I think for the artifacts, actually, you only need a small portion. It's only 12,000 points there. So yeah, they're all in the first 3 milestones, so you really don't have to go for the additional ones unless you do want that gold. But in all honesty, man, like, you'll probably just you know, end up running to the final milestone anyway, I would imagine, for the average skilled player that can just absolutely dominate incursions there. So yeah, it's just a fantastic stack of rewards. The total artifacts, if you add those up once every 30 days, so that is a stack of 11,700 there. And if you were to do all the milestones as well, it does come to a grand total of 31,500 of the incursion artifacts. And if we have a look at the 5-star shards as well, so just assuming that you did 10 zones for sector 7 and also sector 6, that is 6,550 there. So a really nice stack. But you have to remember that these incursion artifacts, they are kind of essentially 5-star shards at the moment, in a way, because if you go to the incursion store, if you go to store and then incursions, scroll down, you can directly purchase like the regular 5-star hero crystal with them. So yeah, if you grind out everything on a monthly basis, and again, it's probably about 6 like 1 hour and a bit sessions to do so, then yeah, it's one of these 5-star hero crystals, and then you've got almost 10,000 incursion fragments left, so it's pretty much halfway towards your next one. Plus you also have just over 6,000 5-star shards as well, so you can see how it's like roughly just over 2 5-star crystals there total. However, on top of that, because there's even more, man, which isn't included in the infographic as well, if we go to incursions, I know some of you will remember the friendship bonuses from dungeons, so these are still in play. I think they reset like once every month, but if you do friendship bonuses and also a matchmaking bonus, so if you do incursions or randoms as well, you can get additional 5-star hero crystal shards. So via all of this stuff, there's like 1,000 additional 5-star shards, so it brings that total up to about what is it, 7,550 there, if I'm correct. I may be incorrect. No, I was right, 7,550. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that really does add up, and you can get as well additional like gold dungeon artifacts and all sorts of stuff in these little crystals as well. So yeah, overall, man, incursions are just like fantastic when it comes to like bang for your buck for time invested, while on top of that as well, just being like a really fun mode of gameplay. It is just honestly broken some of the things you can do in incursions, and there's not really kind of a definitive guide to like which champions are the best for incursions, because I was playing around with Legacy, and the general rule of thumb is that characters with a lot of buffs and a lot of debuffs work really well, and also champions with regeneration as well. So characters like Morningstar are really valuable just because you can keep on topping them up, but there are intervals after you complete every single zone or room in incursions to either revive your team, heal your team, or pick a really overpowered buff. So yeah, there's just all sorts of stuff that you can have fun with, and you've got to just choose the buffs that are relevant to the characters that you're running. So initially it's going to be a little bit of reading, a little bit of, you know, stuff to think about there, but once you kind of get used to a lot of the buffs in circulation for incursions, it does become very straightforward, very intuitive, and yeah, just ridiculously easy to roll through so much stuff. Like the damage on some characters is just absolutely mad. I already got my Annihilus going, and he was just absolutely shredding all sorts of stuff left and right. So it's just a tremendously fun time. Also, my Mojo as well was hitting like a friggin' truck there, boys. But you can see we get this Black Panther down here. I think yeah, we just absolutely smacked that man for, look at that massive degeneration there. But honestly, the attack modifiers in Incursions are crazy good. Just to quickly cover what Incursions do as well, so when you go in, you're gonna have to choose a side, left or right, and instruct your partner to go the other side, and also tell them which node you want to get down, because these nodes will be linked to a mini boss here. So you need to tell your partner which node you want them to remove, and thus which fight to take. Also, when you go over to the first node as well, and you're going to see this just in a moment here, you're going to have the option to either disable server links to the characters that are linked to the boss. So this is going to make the champions you fight much easier. However, you also have the option to swap out a character on your roster currently for one that's inside your roster and not currently active in Incursions. So say here I wanted to swap out Old Man Logan for like Nick Fury. I'd be able to hit character select and then confirm selection, and then I'd be able to swap out my, you know, Old Man Logan for Nick Fury. So that is the first one that you come across there. And then after you've battled your first opponent, then you move on to a buff selection node, which comes up just before the mini boss. So here you have a choice. You can see after you've done your first encounter there of which like hack to choose. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff here. Here we have an example of like medium attacks gain even more attack and ability accuracy. It's like 40% additional attack rating, and this stuff just stacks and stacks and stacks and synergizes with all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's really good. Then after you kill the mini boss, you get to pick another hack, so you can stack up another hack on that, and you can see these smaller hacks last for 3 zones there. So yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff that increases like light attacks rating and ability accuracy, increases attack rating for each unique buff on the champion. So you got to think about, you know, generally what you're trying to buff up and what you're trying to go for, but you can't really go wrong with a lot of characters when it comes to like enhancing their light, heavy, and also medium attacks. But it depends on the characters and their playstyle there. So that's the second node. And then finally, after you beat the boss, you have the selection to pick up a boss module, which is a rare hack, a very powerful hack there. And if you can, you really want to go for this one, because this one is like broken good, man. There's all sorts of crazy stuff that could be on this one. You can also revive your KO'd members of your team at 20% of your health, and that will revive everybody that's dead. Or you can heal your team for 40% of their base health. But really, if you want to get far, you do need to go for the boss modules, because the boss modules are just so good, and those boss modules will last 4 zones there. So there's all sorts of stuff here, like there are light attacks have a 30% chance to inflict a 5-second shock debuff, medium attacks have a 40% chance to inflict a 5-second incinerate debuff, and again, this stuff will scale with the attack, it will scale with the fury, so it's just ridiculous here. However, in this scenario, I went for Tide of Combat, which is whenever a non-damaging debuff expires on the opponent, there's a 50% chance to gain a Fury buff lasting 10 seconds and granting 35% attack rating. Now, the reason I went for this at the time is because I was running a Nihilus, and a Nihilus is crazy in this mode of gameplay. Again, any character that has like a lot of buffs and a lot of debuffs is going to be so good for these rare boss nodes, because like he's constantly applying on like most of his hits just like 2 non-damaging debuffs. So as these are expiring, he's just gaining like so much fury, and it just quickly propels the damage to a very silly level. So yeah, there's just all sorts of fun stuff to play around with, man. But yeah, as soon as you've done that, then it's just rinse and repeat. The next room, you get your zone rewards, and you go on to the next one. And again, the deeper you get, the more 5-star shards you're going to be picking up per room, and also the more gold you're going to be picking up per room. So overall, at least in my opinion, man, Incursions are about 5 times as good as Dungeons, both in terms of enjoyment and also in terms of the rewards. The rewards are so much better than Dungeons, it's actually mad. Because I swear, if you did like all the Dungeons, you could like barely get half a 5-star champion, but now you can, you know, do 6 runs in Incursions and get like, you know, just over the equivalent to 2 5-star champions and 1.5 million gold every single month. So that's 80 more million gold per year, and also 24 more 5-star champions, maybe around 26, 27 per year as well. So this is a phenomenal change for free-to-play players and people that just like grinding and playing this game. So yeah, I really like Incursions, man. I think they're a pretty good addition. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this new feature. Do you like Incursions? Do you not like Incursions? I can't see how you wouldn't like Incursions. They're pretty damn good. But anyway, let me know your initial reaction. But aside from that, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.